Okay, the next one is like a three-part question. The first, I'm going to ask how you handle a typical bride. The second one is I'll give you a example of a typical wedding and ask how much you charge. And then the last part of that is how do you determine that number, how much to charge that bride for that wedding. So the first one, typical call. We all have gotten them. Hello, my name is Sue, and I'm getting married September 25th, 2010. I'm wondering if you are available and how much your video services are. So how would you handle that call?
Well, thanks for calling, Sue. I appreciate that. Thanks for thinking of us. We do have September the 10th open, and we would love to be a part of your special day. I'm just wondering if you and I would have a chance to sit down at my office and we could talk a little bit about your wedding, and I could find out, if we're the right fit for you before I fill you up with a whole lot of details about what we do and what we charge and all that. Let's just sit down and talk about it. If I can get them in front of me, I can sell them. I don't ever quote prices over the phone.
Yeah, and I would agree with that too. We never. The only price that I quote, it's on my website. It says our basic wedding prices start at $899, and that's a view from the pew. That's basically a one camera, very minimal type thing, and we still keep that in there because at least this is going to create curiosity. But what I tell people basically is I can't really quote a price because I don't know what's all involved, and you wouldn't want me just to fill out a price without being able to say this is what is going to be covered in it. And so I said what we need to do, first of all, you need to see our work to see if we do the kind of work that you really want, because there's different styles and maybe there's not a fit. But if there is a fit, then what we would do is we would ask you specific questions to find out exactly what it would take to really capture the day, and then we'll give you a cost at that point.
Well, and even worse, unfortunately, I don't think that is usually a phone call. It's an email. I want to say 95 times out of 100, it's an email. And some of them are so short and cryptic. Mm-hmm. A couple times I haven't even responded because I thought this isn't going to go anywhere for what I want to be doing. And I'm kind of embarrassed to say that, but a couple times I was just ticked off enough that I said, I don't think this is someone I want to deal with. But I do, whether it's a phone call or an email, I try to engage the person a bit. And I thank them and tell them the date's open. But, before I can make any suggestions or recommendations, please tell me a little more about your plans and, what your vision is. And I wish I could tell you that got a good response all the time. Because I still often do not hear from people. So I have caved, and now when I send that email back, I do attach a description of my packages and pricing. And I'm thinking I've probably done what John did, is maybe price myself out of the market. I was always amazed, and I shouldn't have been, but my business would always increase whenever I raised my prices, until about 2 years ago. And that's changed. And, it's a little bit tempting to say, okay, I'll drop the price and do more weddings, but that isn't the reason I'm doing this, and that's not the direction I want to take my business. So I'm really going to resist that. And I don't know, we didn't answer your question about how much we charge for a typical wedding.
Well, I'll give you an example later on.
Okay.
We'll get through these.
Okay, when a bride calls me and asks about a date, I say, I don't know. My wife handles the calendar, and she does all of our social events, so why don't you give me a little information, and I'll give it to her, and she'll call you back. So at that point, I start to talk to them about their day and where it is. If they have a very fancy venue, then I know they have a bigger budget. Who's your photographer? If it's a fancy photographer, then I know they have a bigger budget. What's your dress like? And if I know that where did you buy it? If they went to a cut rate place, then I know that it's not such a big budget. So I've got a bunch of information that we can pre-qualify the bride with. And so then I do turn it over to my wife, and she does call them back, and she has a better idea of where to go with this and how to upsell them, or to realize that there's no sale there at all.
So you double team.
So we double team them. Yeah,
Can I add something to that?
yeah.
When you do that with a bride, when you go through and you ask questions to her, and you are asking about what her choices are, if you've been doing weddings in your particular area, you know those venues, you know those other vendors, and you can endear her to you by building trust because you know those vendors. And she's going to say, yeah, we're having our reception at such and such ballroom. Oh my gosh, I love going there. It is so great, and you made such a good choice. She knows you know what you're talking about, and you are validating that she made a good choice. She's on the right track. She's in the right place. She's talking to the right guy. So listen to her choices, help her along. By the time you're done with that conversation, she's going, can you tell me where I could find a good DJ? Those sorts of things. And now she knows you know your business. It helps a lot.
Good. I just add, as I try to engage the bride, or my first response, I'm never too quick to say, no, I'm open on that date. I always do say, I'm going to need to check, I'm not sure, and then try and have the conversation while I'm checking. Because I certainly want to create the illusion that I'm very busy.
Yeah, I do something similar. It's very important that I get them in the door, and obviously that's not always possible. Sometimes they live out of state, and you have to deal with them, or you send out a sample or email them a clip or whatever it is. I do have a standard clip. I talked about emailing video to them, and I do have a standard thing that I send out, and I have your date available. I'd love to find out more about what you're looking for and your vision, those kinds of things. And then I kind of feel it out. Sometimes they get back to me right away. Then I know they're interested. Sometimes they don't, and I have to follow up. But it just, for me, it just seems it's really important that I meet with them and find out really what they're looking for. And I had this come up the other day, a couple days ago. I booked this gal. I didn't book it. Hopefully I will. But she called and said, I'm interested in getting together with you. I'd really like to meet with you, which is a great sign, of course. So I said, great. Why don't we look at my calendar? We'll get it down. So I put it down, and then she said, by the way, before we meet, can I just get a sense of what your prices are? And I said, well, we have a policy. We don't give prices over the phone. And it just came out of my mouth. I thought, I like that because it kind of took the pressure off. If there's a policy, it's a policy. So it isn't me saying I'm not going to talk about prices. We have a policy. We don't really talk about prices, but when we get together, we can go through all that. So that's how I handle that price thing.